So let me continue with the physical transmission media under the communication network. There are many types of physical transmission media available today for us to get connected from one computer with the others, or for us to get connected to the internet. One using twisted wire, or we call it UTP cable, or in general we call network cable, with modems or without modems. Nowadays we don't call it modems anymore, we call it SS unit, or we call it Wi-Fi, or we call it router. Yeah, I have just explained to you why we are not using modems anymore, because our data transmission today is everything digital all the way. Coax cable, which is a very slow speed old technology, not in use anymore. Fiber optic and optical network, high-end data transmission network, high speed, and also over a long distance. So our wide area network, metropolitan area network, connecting one city with the other city, all through fiber optic and optical network, or is through fiber connection using different technology, using division multiplexing technology, which I believe we don't have to go into the detail. And then for LAN, local area network, we have transmission media and devices such as microwave, wireless, all that comes under wireless. Satellites, cellular telephones, mostly all these transmissions are completely wireless, where we are using like Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, RFID, infrared, and so on. So there are many types of wireless access available today. So it all depends on what type of network that you have implemented for your corporate company. The transmission speed, we use hertz as a measurement unit for the bandwidth. That's why you can see the speed goes into Mbps or Gbps, megabits per second or gigabits per second. That is transmission speed. So nowadays definitely we have 1 gig, 2 gig, 45 gig, 100 gig, and so on. It depends on your transmission media or the bandwidth, in general. An example of how BP Amoco satellite transmission system works, just for your information, where this is in US, and then for example the company, I mean the ship, the transporter need to communicate back to the office in southern part of the US. So the communication takes place between the two location through a satellite, or in other words we call through the GPS, global positioning system. So this is an example of, I will say, this definitely goes under the wide area network because of the distance, huge network, high speed network, and also completely wireless. An example of satellite transmission system is always wireless. Okay, next we're going to look at internet. The global internet. Internet means is global, globally connected. So that's why they call it global internet. So what is internet? As we are aware, it allows us to connect to the website globally, over the available infrastructure such as wireless or wired, as we discussed earlier. Internet addressing and architecture, just some information to share with you. The internet addressing and architecture based on the domain name system, or we call it DNS. There is a server which will be known as a DNS, and the function of the server, as you will see slightly more details later in the coming slides. It is basically managing the naming system of all the websites or servers over the internet through a hierarchical structure. Yeah, top level domains. Remember, we look at hierarchical structure in the previous sessions when come to databases. So it's quite similar. It's in the top level domains right to the details, yeah, right to the lowest level. The internet architecture and governance all are managed by some association or some groups in the US, such as IAB, ICANN, W3C, and so on. There are many organizations or groups in US are managing. They are not formal group, but they are a group responsible and maintaining and taking care of internet architecture and governance. Yeah, when it comes to internet technology, the future internet, which is already available now, no more based on IP version 4, but it is on version 6, which is, yeah, will be supporting us maybe for the next 15 years to 20 years, where we will not be running out of IP addresses. One of the reasons why they change or they migrate from version 4 to version 6, because version 4 is running out of IP address, not enough IP addresses for the global use. And that is the reason why this group responsible for the IP addresses has come out with version 6 and also the internet version 2, which we will see some details later, so that we can continue to use internet and more devices for the next 15 to 20 years. For very simple reason, yeah. Those days, only computers and laptops or desktops are connected to the internet. But today, we have beside desktop, laptop, tablet, iPad, your phones are all connected to the internet. So when every single device is connected to the internet, every single device needs an IP address. So definitely we will run out of IP address version 4. So that is the reason why they came out with version 6, which is 128 bits long compared to 32 bits long of IP version 4. So when it is 128 bits long version 6, it can last for another 15 to 20 years or even longer. Or who knows, maybe they will have a plan to come out with a IP version 7 or 8 even later. So it all depends on the demand. What you see in your next slide is a slide about the domain name system. It is in a hierarchical format, as I mentioned earlier, where you have a root domain. The root could be, or most probably is in US. For example, you have the HQ or the root or the main controller in US connected to many different organizations or businesses throughout the world, such as you have EDU as one corporation or as one entity or as one group. Then we have com stand for commercial. Then we have GOV, all the governments globally. Then we have some organization. Then we have some network service providers, .NET, and many more. So this is how the internets are being divided into different groups. So most of us are using commercial, because we are doing businesses. That's why all our website that you're accessing is always with .com. For example, lazada.com, shopee.com, amazon.com. And .com, normally it is registered in US. And if it is registered in your own country, normally it will has an additional or extension of, such as in Malaysia .com.my, in Australia .com.au. Yeah, in different countries you might have an extension of 2 characters in common, like Singapore SG and so on. The same goes to edu. If it is edu, normally it is being registered in US. If it is in Malaysia, it is edu.my. If it is in Singapore, edu.sg, for example. And the same goes to any other corporation or domain. The proper term is actually, we call each one of these as its own domain. That's why we call it domain name system. Yeah, domain name system, and the com will be connected all the way to your server or to your computers. Yeah, so this is what we call domain name system hierarchical format. And the DNS system or the DNS server is actually responsible for keeping track of all these names and engaging against an IP address. Yeah, so that is important. Every device, like I mentioned earlier, will have an IP address, and that IP address will be matched against the name of that computers, so that, as we all understand, computers cannot understand text. Computers or the system only can understand 1 and 0, digital, yeah, binary. Remember, I did mention about binary in my previous class. So this name will be converted into binary, which was actually engaged again an IP address, and the IP address are all numbers. So the numbers will be converted into binary digit 1 and 0, like what I shared in my previous session, so that the computer can understand the binary digit, the IP addresses, and the DNS system or the server will convert the IP addresses and match against the name. So why name? Because human being only can understand names and can remember names. If I ask you to remember IP address for the Google server, definitely we won't be able to remember. Okay, so to make it easy, the IT system, the MIS system, has come out with a name which is actually match against an IP address. So if you have 20 Google servers, there will be 20 IP addresses. And just imagine, throughout the world, we have millions of servers, millions of devices, or billions of devices. Looking at the population today, yeah, looking at the handphone itself, there are 2 or 3 billions of handphones in the whole world today, meaning each one device, each one phone will have one IP address, and that IP address needs to have its own name, so that the domain system can identify your device over the internet. Yeah, in a very high level, definitely I cannot go very detailed into technical. I don't want you to get confused, but this is how the DNS in short form system works. So the next slide is quite complicated for you. It is all about internet network architecture. Yeah, let me just explain quickly. We have the backbone here, the broadband, and then connected to the regional hubs. Yeah, router connected to the internet will be connected to the regional host. Yeah, and regional host will be connected to your own domain. Remember, domain here, local internet service providers, local domain, and this local domain will be connected to all the LAN and WAN or MAN for the purpose of sending email, WhatsApp, WeChat, all other services, any other services. So this is how the internet architecture is, and how they are connected to the whole world, just to give you some ideas. So when you guys do the reading, related to your article. Pick up articles that where it is related to what you're going to write about. What are the issues in the e-commerce industry? Issues in the e-commerce industry, not any other industries. Please read the question carefully. IT issues related to e-commerce, e-businesses. Like I mentioned earlier, the issues could be related to network. The issue could be related to the broadband speed. The issue could be related to security related issues. The issues could be related to infrastructure related issues. Uh, so you have to think along that way. What are the issues or what are the MIS related issues that these two industries, or one particular industry, that is e-businesses or e-commerce, are having today. So look for that kind of articles and write 4 to 5 pages. So you can introduce what is the industry all about, what are the issues or challenges. Sometimes challenges also can be considered as the issues, and how the challenges or issues can be overcome. Yeah, can be overcome, like what you see in every lecture. They put up a problem, they give you a solution. So you can discuss about what are the issues, and you can continue with what are the possible solution or methods to overcome those issues. So if you do that, if you identify 5 to 6 issues and you come out with a solution, I think that itself easily will get you 4 to 5 pages. So that's what I want all of you to write. Yeah. So if you have any further question, please bring it up. We can discuss later. Okay, with that, let me move on to internet services. What are the internet services available today? So we are moving away slightly from network into internet services, or the social media, which is very popular as part of the internet today. Email. Yeah, email has been there for more than 20 years, 30 years. So this is one of the very old internet services or tool that is available for us to communicate, mainly for communication purpose, for sending and receiving files, information, data, and so on. Of course, there are some limitation over the email services. They don't want us to send too huge files. It will take up most of the broadband or bandwidth. So to avoid that, they limit some size. For example, they allow only 20 meg maximum. Some maybe 30 meg. Anything bigger than that, you got to look for some other internet service tools. There are many other tools that supports this kind of requirement. Chatting and instant messages, which is also quite popular those days, and it is very popular today. For example, your WeChat, WhatsApp, Twitters, and so on. News group, for those who are related or working related to news, they have their own dedicated news group channel or groups where you can read and post news either online or real time. Yeah. Telnet, which is not that popular for non-IT people, but is quite useful for academic related group or for IT to get connected to hosts or remote hosts to the remote computers. Yeah, for accessing information, data, or for transmitting data as well. The other internet services, also mostly for the IT or businesses, is file transfer protocol. If your file is huge in size and you are unable to transmit through email, you can always download FTP, which is free over the internet. Get registered. Once you have the login and password, once you have the access to the remote site host or servers, you can start transferring files or downloading files, which is also available for many years. Of course, the most common one, the popular one is web, yeah, our internet site, which I don't have to explain. Most of you are connecting or connected, or even now we are connected to the internet, and we are using our infrastructure for delivering my lectures and for you to receiving it. So that is World Wide Web or internet. VoIP or voice over IP, normally for the voice transmitting over the IP, over the digital network, not over the analog but over the digital. Also one of the services provided by internet platform. VPN, virtual private network, which normally engage or leased by the companies, corporate clients or corporate companies, so that their network is secured, protected from the public. Only those who have proper login and password can make use of this VPN or can have access to the VPN. So this is normally for our own employees or customers or vendors and support people, not for the public. Yeah, so that is VPN. Also is available over the internet, and there are many other services that not in this list, which are also known as internet services. Just for your information, how the client server computers or the client server computing connected over the internet. Yeah, let me run through this. I've shared this quite a number of times. No difference. You are your client, you're using the web browser or any other client browser or software or any other devices, your phone, your PDA, your tablet, iPad and so on, to connect to the internet. Over the other side, actually you're connected to an internet server, where this internet server will have all the software required, including, you see, there is a mail software, DNS software, FTP software, web server software and so on. And this server have access to the web servers, web pages, mail servers and so on, to application server, to database server for the business. Yeah, for example, if you are logging in and connect to, for example, Amazon.com. So this is the Amazon.com server connected over the internet, and this Amazon.com server definitely will be connected to their own application server, their own databases and so on. An example, as an example, so that the client here can see the Amazon.com from the web pages server or databases with all the information that you're looking for. Maybe you want to buy an item, so the item need to be accessed from this database. So this is how the connectivity is when you use the client server computing on the internet through the web browser, which you don't see everything, you don't see what is happening in the background, but at the detail level, this is how the connections are. And some of these servers, not necessarily, like I mentioned earlier, is not even local. It could be in US, it could be in any country, any part of the world. Yeah, it could be in your neighbor country, Thailand or Singapore, or it could be in China, or it could be in Bangladesh. We don't know. It all depends on what are you looking for. And definitely most of the servers are in US. Any servers, any name with .com, they are all in US, unless it is with extension of the country, for example .com.sg, then we know it is in Singapore. .my, then we know it is in Malaysia. Otherwise, if it is .com, those servers most probably are in US. That's how the setup is. The next slide shows you how the voice over IP works. Just for your information, here you are, user, you are asking a question, how are you, over the voice, over the voice. Then there is a router or gateway, connect to the internet. Your messages will be delivered through the internet, through the packet switching, through the different routes. So the receiver will receive it on the other side through their own gateway, and then you get the message here, how are you? Voice, because this is voice over IP. So they will listen to you, like same like how I'm speaking over my side. This is me, for example, I'm speaking through my voice, and it goes through this internet, and what you hear me is my voice. So this is voice over IP, because all of us are using internet, meaning we are using IP address. And when I use voice, my voice get transmitted into digital format over the internet platform, over the network, and that's how on your side the voice will be heard as my voice, definitely in a digital format, not in an analog format. Only when you hear from your device to your ears, it is in the analog format. But device to device, from these computers to these computers, is all in digital. From these computers to your ears, definitely it is analog, because we cannot hear digital. So it's analog. But then device to device is digital. That is what it means by voice over IP network. Okay, there are many more slides. Right now I'm at slide 28. There are 46 slides in total. I might give you a short break at 9 o'clock or at earlier, and then I might go through some of these slides later, or I need you to go through it on your own and then come back to me if you have any further question, due to the length of the slides, and some are quite technical. If you need help, you can always come back to me. Okay, with that, let me continue with the VPN, virtual private network using the internet. So VPN is a private network, as its names mention, not available to the public. It is secured through what we call a tunnel or a private connection, where you need to access with proper login and password. So when you use your own private ID and password to connect to the tunnel, that means you are in a virtual private network that nobody else or the public cannot access it. For example, you have a HQ in US, and then you have a regional or site office in your home country. So definitely your definitely your company at the home site needs to be connected to the HQ for data transferring and receiving. There are options for you. One, you can always use the public network, which is internet, which is not secure, where the bandwidth can go up and down, which is almost free or you pay very less cost. But if you want to have a secure, high-speed, privately connected network, that's where you go for VPN between the HQ and your home office. But definitely the cost is very, very expensive, very, very expensive. But definitely it is secure, high speed, and private. Definitely everything will work faster, but the cost is quite high. Normally will be paid by the corporate company, will be paid by the corporate company on annual basis. So there is a one interactive session here with the topic monitoring employees on network, unethical, good business. Please go through this on your own, or you can bring it up in our discussion session. Questions are: should managers monitor employee email and internet usage? Why and why not? This is a good question for discussion among your friends or yourself. Describe an effective email and web usage or web use policy for a company. Yeah, for example, in my case, I was from a manufacturing industry for many years, semiconductor related manufacturing companies, high volume, fully automated, for example, like SMIC in China, or TSMC in Taiwan, Singapore, they do have SMIC, Chartered. There are many semiconductor companies, yeah, Hitachi, Motorola, Intel, and so on. So that's where my background is. We give access, email and internet to the office employees. If you are in an office building, yes, you can have all this access. But if you are in a manufacturing plant, you are in the floor, production floor, we block all this access. Reason, we don't want any unauthorized access to this production floor. We don't want any security issues. We don't want our staff, meaning the operators, the workers, to access internet, right, for security reason, not for afraid of they might misuse it, no, but for security reason. So we would like to keep the production floor completely protected, private. For that reason, we don't have internet access. No internet services in the production floor. Yeah, only in the office. So if they are interested to access, to send email, for example, they need to come to the office and there will be available PCs set up for them, then they can use it. But staff, they will have access. Office staff, they will have access. Engineers and managers and top management, they all are given email access and internet access, but not the staff or employees in the production floor. Okay, what you see in your next slide is couple of terms that related to internet or World Wide Web, yeah, to internet. For example, some are quite familiar for you, some are not. For example, what is HTML? It is a hypertext markup language that used to develop the web pages. Yeah. Then hypertext transfer protocol is the protocol required for the client to communicate with the internet, to download, to upload, to read, to send messages over the internet using the web browser. You need this hypertransfer protocol software. It is a software. Then what is URL? I'm very sure all of you are familiar with URL. Is the address of the web pages. Web servers are the servers which holds or locating your web pages. For example, Alibaba.com is in the Alibaba web server. Amazon.com in the Amazon web server. And this World Wide Web or your internet pages normally will have features or facilities such as search engine, shopping boats, all the what we call chat capabilities. For example, nowadays they use robot, yeah, to provide you the chat, so you can type the question and you will get immediate answers, almost immediate answers from the website, because these are the standard answers that they have developed, they have built in for the robots, for the computer system to reply for your normal queries or general queries. Then we have web, semantic web, more capable of doing more searching, complicated searching compared to the general search engine. So all these are the features or services that are available on the internet. Remember, in my previous session I did highlight that now we have moved into web 2 with more features, more advanced features compared to the older version of web pages. They call this web 2 as a second generation interactive based internet, where it allows the users to collaborate, share information, and also you can communicate interactively with the web pages. Two ways, two ways communication. No more just read and listen, but now you can read and respond. You can also reply. So it's a two ways internet technology. For example, there are blogs that you can, post your response. There are what we call feeds, RSS, really simple syndication, or feeds where you can provide your reply, your response. Wikis, I'm very sure all of you are known. So all these are new features of second generation web pages. Example how Google works, I'm very sure all of you are very familiar. Same, no difference from the internet network that I've shown earlier. Okay, so I'm not going to go through into the detail very much. Reason is really getting late for the second session, for our discussion session. Go through it when you are free. If you have any question, as usual, come back to me. I did mention that internet is definitely very popular. Everyone is using it, and of course, in terms of search engine, Google is still number one. Then we have Yahoo and the others. I already explained to you what is intranet and extranet in my previous session. So just for you to read through and understand. Wireless devices we have covered. Cellular systems are all our phone systems. In US, for example, they use CDMA. Most of the rest of the world, they are using GSM method. But now we are also migrating into CDMA, and of course we have moved from 3G to 4G, and next we are looking into 5Gs. In the next slide, you have some information related to Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. You don't need to know the detail, but just for your information. How Bluetooth works, which maybe some of you are already familiar with. How Wi-Fi works, I don't have to explain how Wi-Fi works, but just for your information, where we have the access point, or some of us call it router or modem, and all how our devices are connected to the access point. So there are more information about Wi-Fi, WiMAX. In some state or countries or cities, they are using a connection known as a WiMAX on a different frequency compared to Wi-Fi. Then we have cellular wireless, which is our phone. Some information about RFID. I'm very sure all of you are aware of RFID, where it's being used as an identification, in your cart, in your car, transport, products, to keep track of the products, to keep track of the vehicles, for parking and so on. There are many places, many industries where they are using RFID for tracking purposes. RFID, yeah, basically is radio frequency identification. Example in the next slide is how RFID works. Normally they will give you a card where the tag is in the card, and then it uses radio wave, short term radio wave, not for a long distance, and then it is connected to a system. For interactive session, how RFID is being used in Walmart, for example, please read through for discussion, will be good topic if you are interested. Wireless sensor network, in today's modern world, sensor becomes so important. There are millions or hundreds or thousands of sensors are being uh, installed or used in all the electrical car, for example, latest car for many different purposes, houses, hospitals, manufacturing industries, full of sensors, yeah, and all these sensors are actually collecting data and sending back to the centralized computer system for processing purpose. And most of the sensors are on real-time basis. They are connected to very high-end, high-speed, powerful network for the uh, for the, for providing the services to the business. An example of how wireless sensor network works, how it is connected to a server and to the internet, or to a private network, not necessarily to the internet. Okay, so with that, I think I've covered all the slides uh, with the hope that you will go through it again, try to understand it. Of course, some of the information here are quite outdated. We can always update ourselves with